हेलो एंड वेलकम टू आवर यूट्यूब चैनल क्रिकेट नगर। मैं हूं आयुष शर्मा, मेरे साथ मौजूद है मेरे कॉलीग मेहरान जैदी। और आज एक बहुत बड़ा दिन है हमारे लिए, क्योंकि हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए एक बहुत ही स्पेशल गेस्ट, रिनाउंड ऑथर, स्पोर्ट्स जर्नलिस्ट एंड कमेंटेटर मिस्टर अयाज मेमन। थैंक यू सो मच अयाज सर फॉर जॉइनिंग अस टुडे।
Thank you guys for having me on the show.
Thank you. So, sir, let's dive in. In the first test at Lord's, we saw a thumping victory for Team India. But in the recent test match at Headingley, we saw that England bounced back and gave an amazing performance. So, what went wrong for India in Headingley?
Well, I think everything went wrong, if you ask me. First morning, apart from winning the toss, and even that turned out to be actually a disadvantage because I thought, in hindsight, when you look back, the decision to bat first may not have been such a wise one because there was a lot of freshness in the wicket and the bowlers got a lot of movement. But to collapse for 78 after that, to win the match from that situation is extremely difficult. Is virtually impossible. And so, yes, they put up a fight in the second innings through that one partnership between Pujara and Virat, but not much beyond that. And again on the fourth morning, there was a collapse, 63 runs, 8 wickets falling. So I think overall it was a terrific bounce back from England, because almost everybody thought that after winning at Lord's, India would win the series easily. But I think what it has done is that it's brought the series to a very interesting stage. But I think right now, as things stand, India may be a little on the back foot because they've lost the last match and lost it in England have won it in very convincing fashion. So that's going to be and it's a lot of pressure on India because it's got a formidable team on paper.
Yeah.
Rohit Sharma, Rahul, Virat, Pujara, Rahane, Pant. I mean, this is perhaps the best batting lineup in the world. And Jadeja. Then you got some bowlers who've been doing extraordinarily well for India overseas, especially Bumrah, Shami, Siraj, Ishant. And then for this team to lose like this is obviously a matter of some concern.
And so then, what changes do you see in the match starting tomorrow? Because I think Ashwin looks almost certain to play, and Ishant might miss out. And other than that, do you see maybe I don't know if you will agree with resting Rahane or not right now.
See, I mean, it's a very difficult situation for the Indian team management. I think, yes, some changes will be needed. Rahane is a very seasoned player. He's on his third tour of England. In 2014, he also had 100 at Lord's, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Didn't do much in 2018. But at this point in time, do you need to keep somebody who's got the experience, the richness of experience, or do you get some fresh, like a Hanuma Vihari or somebody else, Surya Kumar Yadav in, who might, they're very good performers. That's why they are in the squad. But it might just make things a little easier for England because it's a fresh new face. They haven't yet got adjusted to the bowling that England have been putting up against the Indians. Where Ashwin is concerned, I think the decision might be that much easier because, at the Oval, it does historically tend to help the spinners, especially after day three, from day three onwards, fourth and fifth days. Historically, we don't know what kind of pitch will be there. Not just that, I think Ashwin has been the outstanding performer for India over the last 10-12 months. So it was a very big decision to leave him out from the first test itself. That itself was a very big decision. Now, when it works, everything looks great. You won at Lord's, four pace bowler theory. It works splendidly. But when it doesn't work, like at Leeds, then everybody will ask questions. And I think it's a legitimate question. Do you keep, because Ashwin can also bat. So I see maybe one change for certain, in my opinion, which is Ashwin coming in place of Ishant Sharma.
So a very important tour for India women's team is coming. India is going to Australia and they will play a test match there, and along with the T20s and ODIs. So how do you see this series, and how important this series will be for women's cricket for India and the world also?
Look, I think at the end of the day, women's cricket needs as much encouragement as possible. I don't mean it patronizingly. I mean in terms of making them raise the level, raise the bar. Now that can only happen if you play frequently. If you play infrequently, like I went for the T20 World Cup final to Melbourne in 2020, just before the pandemic struck. So India lost in the final there, but they had reached the final,
Yes.
and they lost to Australia. And then after that, for more than a year, there was no match for the Indian team. So it's not about, equitable salaries for players. It's not about Smriti Mandhana or Jemima Rodriguez getting as much money as a Rohit Sharma or a Virat Kohli per match. That's not, the economics will determine that. But at least if Rohit and Virat and Rahul and, they're all playing, say, 40, 50 matches a year, some test matches, some T20 matches, some ODI matches. It can't be that the women's team is playing only 3 or 4 or 5 and then expect the standard to rise. It's not going to happen. So first of all, the focus should be on creating more and more opportunities for them to play. That will also increase not just the level of excellence, but also the level of involvement of spectators, of sponsors. And that's how a sport grows. You have to first create an interesting ecosystem. And I think that's what is really missing. So this is a great thing, for them to have these matches lined up. They had, in the recent past, they had, the mixed bag didn't quite go as well as expected in terms of results. But the experience was invaluable. And if, more and more such matches are played, some tournaments are held, bilateral or multi-nation, I think it can just help women's cricket grow. What is for clear now is that there is a fan following of their own which they've got. It may not run into crores like it does for the men's team, but hey, even at one stage, others like Kabaddi, didn't have many followers, but look at where Kabaddi is now. It's the second most popular sport in the country. So that is something that needs to be done. There must be a vision of where they will take women's cricket from point A to point B and how.
And now coming to the Olympics, how do you rate India's performance? We won 7 medals in the Olympics, and then the Paralympics also we are doing much better than before. And I think अभी कुछ medals और अभी उम्मीद है आने की भी. So how do you see the overall both the main Olympics and Paralympics Indian performance and
Yeah, so I think the big, first of all, winning a gold medal in track and field was the outstanding achievement, and that in itself was just defines what the Olympics participation for India this time meant. Because while we had won 6 medals in London, and this is just 1 medal more, but that 1 medal is a gold medal, and that's a magnificent. It's like taking a giant leap for the country, which has been starved of medals, and certainly of a gold medal in an event or a discipline where we historically don't have much, we haven't shown much caliber, or we don't have much credit. So I think Neeraj Chopra has just completely opened up a whole new vista. It's a paradigm shift. If I was overjoyed having covered sports for more than 40 years. Something like this was unthinkable, unexpected, and therefore the delight was, humongous. But look at it from a point of view of a boy or a girl who's 8 or 9 and is hearing these things about Neeraj Chopra and seeing, and the inspiration that you can draw, that मैं भी कर सकता हूँ, it's not that the track and field is only for the Americans and the Russians and the Europeans or the Chinese. It's not just about shooting and wrestling and boxing or hockey that India can do well. So I think it's just opened up a whole new world. Now, obviously, it needs not little, but a big follow-up from the authorities, from the people who support sport, including in the corporate sector. I think we need to believe in our athletes. My belief is that if you have mass participation for sports, that means you expand the base of the pyramid, then you will get more elite athletes at the top. अगर आपका base ही छोटा है, तो आपके elite athletes जो है चोटी पे जो आते हैं, वो बहुत कम आएंगे, and therefore the prospects of winning medals will be fewer. And the biggest thing is, and though Neeraj of course is a male, I think the biggest issue is that we need, for expanding the base, we need to expand it amongst the girl child and the girls very aggressively. Even out of the 7 medals, 3 were from women. So that's more than 40% of your medals coming from a gender where actually the penetration of sports amongst women in India is less than 6 or 7%. So look at the return you're getting. From 6, 7%, you're getting 40% medals. If that had to increase to 45, 50%, you can see where it will go. Look at countries like the US or China. When their total medals are seen, you'll find that women have more or less 50%, sometimes more. So if we keep almost 50% of our population out of sports, that is the girls and the women, then obviously you'll struggle to become a sporting nation. So that's the big lesson. Where Paralympics is concerned, I think again, Pichli baar bhi we had done well. This time we are doing better. I think there's more awareness. I think there's more, and it's a great thing I feel because of it's not just about the medal. Medal is so important when the event is concerned, but it's also about social inclusiveness. Those who are handicapped or who are challenged in some way, if they get this sense of achievement and a sense of normalcy that what they are doing, they may be challenged in a certain way, but they are as much a vibrant part of our society, our everyday life, and there's no better way to show it than in excellence in sports. I think that's a great move ahead. So I think that the Indian Paralympics doing extremely well is a matter of great pride, and I think this also should be encouraged similarly to the fullest extent possible.
Okay, so sir, the IPL is starting, and just a few days back we learned that two new teams will be added in the 2022 edition. So how do you see that? Is it good, or it will be a bit of, I think, too hodgepodge now with so many teams and 74 matches in the game in the edition?
Well, it can create logistical problems in terms of fixing the itinerary, but there is a provision there. You can have multiple, double headers. So not just over the weekends, but you can also have it during the week, so that you don't expand the time frame of the tournament. If you expand the time frame of the tournament, then you might find yourself cannoning into other itineraries, and then players not being available, and so on and so forth. I think two teams being added. This is something which was done earlier. I think in 2009, 10. And then it didn't work out, went into controversy. But ideally, I think actually, frankly, a 12-team format, it's a huge country, and city-based sponsors, India is the biggest market for cricket. So you could conceivably actually have 12 teams with two groups, of 6 each. And that will give you a slightly different format, but it'll just make more participation, more youngsters getting into the game, more especially Indian talent coming in. And remember, IPL is also an industry. It affords so many jobs for thousands of people, not just as players, but also in sports medicine, in coaching, in food and beverages, in hospitality, and so on and so forth. So there is a case that you could actually expand the teams even further. But two teams coming in, and remember, they're coming in at a price of 2,000 crore plus each team. So there's a lot of money also to be made.
So just you're a veteran commentator also, and I'm sure you had some very memorable and golden moments in the commentary box. So if you are just from the back of your mind, whichever comes to your mind, you've with Sidhu, with Navjot Sidhu also, there were a lot of nice moments.
See, there are characters, and some of these, they're all big names. They are great players. If you do commentary with Sunil Gavaskar or a Wasim Akram or a VVS Lakshman, it's obviously a pleasure and a delight. But also, you come face to face with what they are as characters off the field, because otherwise you know them only as players. I can just tell you that somebody like Sunil Gavaskar is a great storyteller. Sometimes you hear it on camera, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you hear it only in the commentary box. And he's got an elephant's memory. He remembers, I think, every ball that he's played since the time he got into the Indian team. And not just that, he's a very observant guy. So one of the things which I found, almost all of them have mammoth memories. The hard disk is of huge capacity. So whether it's a Sidhu talking about opening the innings with or batting with Sachin Tendulkar in Sialkot, getting hit on the face, and the way he got up and hit the next ball for a 4, or talking to Lakshman about his partnership with Rahul Dravid in that memorable test, Kolkata test of 2001 against Australia. These are all wonderful memories to have. And it just makes you feel that as a journalist and as a commentator, that don't limit yourself only to what they've done. ये inning में ये खेला इतने run बनाए. There's so much more dimensions to these guys which can be explored, because let's not forget, and I've always believed in that you are dealing with specially talented people. These guys are not ordinary guys in terms of their skills. They are amongst the top 1% in the game, or 2%. If you play at the highest level, if you play test cricket or you played hockey for India, or you're a Mary Kom, who's a world-class boxer, multiple tournaments and titles she's won. These are extraordinary people, and you must get that extraordinary quality out of them. On the one hand, they are like you, they're also human beings, like us, like you and me. They feel, they have the same emotional distresses, and they have the same issues, about family, kids, husband, wife, that and the other. But what they also have is a sense of, the mental toughness, the ability to reach where they did. And some of them, wear it lightly. Some of them, you might find there are also other guys who may not wear it so lightly. That's the difference of personality. But it's always a pleasure to know what makes these guys, or what took them to such great heights.
Okay, so, sir, a few days back, news came that Ramiz Raja has been appointed as the new chairman of the
Has
PCB
that been
board.
finalized?
Yes, that has been finalized. And so how do you take this move for the Pakistan cricket? Is it good that a fellow commentator of yours have taken such an important place in the cricket?
I think he's very good. I know Rami's a fair bit. He's got, his thought process is a very good. He's very sharp. He's got a sense of business and a vision for Pakistan cricket, I would imagine. He's also been on the circuit for the last 20 years. Ever since he retired, he's been either a commentator or involved in some role. Remember, he's also been PCB CEO earlier. He's had one stint earlier,
Yes.
but it was he quit because of politicization or political reasons. Now he seems to have the backing of the Prime Minister, who's also a former cricketer and his captain at one point in time. So that should make it a lot more easier for him to conduct the affairs of the Pakistan Cricket Board. So I think what he brings with him is the experience of a player, plus the experience of somebody who's been on the international circuit and seen trends change. T20 has come in. Players have changed in their mindset, in their approach to the game. He knows what it takes to be successful. He's been so often to India, and he's seen how Indian cricket actually has risen over the last 20 years, because he spent a lot of those 20 years touring India as a commentator. And then, of course, he has to bring in his own expertise as a manager. He's got, the educational qualifications of being a manager also. So I think all in all, it seems to be a good choice. But ultimately, it's up to him how he delivers.
Yes, so just the last question. You were one of the few privileged ones who watched the classic Kapil Dev's 175 live, I believe, in the 1983 World Cup. So how special was that innings? Because as it was not televised, so majority of the people haven't watched any clips or anything of that.
No, it's become my calling card, Mera, that I have managed after Kapil Dev ka 175 not out dekha. But to be honest, it's the greatest one-day innings played, in my opinion, ever. Rohit Sharma has hit 3 double centuries. Sachin broke the 200 barrier, then Sehwag, and then others have done it. And but Kapil Dev's 175 for me remains the best, even better than Viv Richards' 189 against England, or 100 he made in the 79 final. For a couple of reasons. One is that the match situation, 9 for 4, 17 for 5, India were dead and gone. In that situation, to come and make 175 not out of 262 or 266, if I remember correctly. And remember, he's not a top order batsman. He's not number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's an all-rounder. Viv Richards was a top order batsman. Rohit Sharma, top order batsman. Sachin Tendulkar, their job is to go there and make runs. Virendra Sehwag. Kapil's primary job was to take wickets and also bat. I mean, he was a gifted player, amongst the greatest all-rounders that has ever played the game. So he turned that match around, and in turning that match around, he turned the tournament around. And because India won the tournament, the game changed. Look at the impact that victory had on cricket. After that, Indian cricket grew geometrically, and became I say, I use this phrase, India today is the Mecca and the El Dorado of cricket, कि all attention, जितने इबादत वाले हैं क्रिकेट के लिए वो ज्यादा आपको इंडिया में मिलेंगे, और जितने माली वाले हैं, माल ढूंढ रहे हैं, वो भी आपको इंडिया में ही मिलेंगे, because the money is here, the passion is here, and the money is here like nowhere else. And it starts, the turning point was that 1983 175 not out against Zimbabwe by a couple there with Tunbridge Wells.
Thank you, sir. It was a great pleasure talking to you. And
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.